Today I'm going to be sharing with you how you would draw out drawing 1-A-1. A couple things to look at on this drawing. First is we have this symbol right here. It's our first time seeing that. Looks like a parallel line at the end of both sides of this part. That tells me that this is symmetrical. So you could draw just the upper portion and then mirror it over. I kind of do a little bit of a combination of drawing both sides separately and mirroring over. The other thing that I want to point out is that we have this dimension down here that tells me that there are 8 times the diameter 0.348. And if you count out all of the little circles, you'll count that there are 8. If you go over here to this notation, 6 times r.4, that tells me that there is an arc here with a radius of 4. And we have this one, and then these over here. And if you count that up, that's only 5. So where's the 6th one? It can be a little tricky, but it's right here. And one other point I just want to make sure that I say is that this does not have the same center point as our circle. So you want to be careful of that. Let's go ahead and get started with this. We're going to start by putting in our 30-degree angles. And you can do that in one of two ways. So I started my drawing already, and I've already put in my layers. I created it on the acad.dwt file. I've already zoomed my screen, and I've changed my line type scale to 0.5. And you'll see I put my center lines in and I added these dimensions, and that's just to kind of keep things straight for me. There's so many lines on here that when I do something small like that, it can help me to keep myself organized. So we know that there's more than one way that you can draw a line at a particular angle. You could use the method where I would type in the @ symbol, type in a length of line like 3, and then the angle symbol, which is shift comma. And then in this case, my angle would be 60 degrees because I'm coming off of the vertical, not off the horizontal. So instead, I'm going to use a little bit of the faster method here, a cheater's method. I'm going to hit my tab key and I'm going to jump over, and I can now change my angle. So I'll type in 60 here and hit enter. You always want to retype the number on that so that you don't end up with 60.3 or 60.8, something like that, 59.2. It's going to round it to the closest number for us, and it could be slightly off. Now that I have that drawn in, I'm going to extend it down to that bottom line. I'm choosing that bottom line as my boundary. I'll hit enter, and then I'll click on the line. Now, the other way that you could have done that is you could have gone to extend, you could hit enter right away on your keyboard, and then that makes everything a boundary, so you could just keep clicking that line until it's extended out. Now, you can continue to do the same thing, or you can use your mirror button, which is what I'm going to do, and mirror it over my center line. Now that we have our location set in there, let's go ahead and start drawing in some of our circles. So I have on my outside, I have a circle that is a radius of 1.9. And then I have a center line circle diameter that is 3.6. And then I have another circle diameter of 3. So I've got the startings of my left side down, and I'm going to start putting in some of my smaller circles that we pointed out at the notation. I like to use this one on the left just because it's the easiest one for me to see, but you could use any of these as your point for putting in these smaller circles and radii. I'm going to go ahead and copy this around. And I just have the small circle to copy. You could choose to do this all at once. You can do just one side and then choose to mirror it over. Those are your options. I'm going to go ahead and start trimming things up. I'm going to choose my circles and my outer circle as my trimming lines, boundaries, and then that will allow me to make my trimming a little easier. So now I've got the left side of my drawing created. As we're looking at our right side, what we have here, if we're going to make the outside piece, notice that this point here connects right at the base of this arc. It is not tangent to the radius of 1.9. However, I have this arc over here, and this line is tangent. So we're only tangent on one side of this. So what I want to do is I want to work to put, I'm going to start working on my outside shape. So I want to get my radius of 0.4 and my diameter of 3.48 in the upper corner over here. And what I can see is that it's going to be along this center line and this center line. That's where I'm going to be placing my circles. So that's why I have these measured out, because it helps me to see it a little easier. Again, you could just use your mirror option for that. You don't have to draw it underneath. So now I'm going to create my line, and I want my line to be tangent to this circle and coming from this point. So either way you do it, I'm going to start from over here. And I'm going to type in tan, T-A-N, and hit enter. And click on my circle. And it'll place it where it wants it to go. Now keep in mind that you may use that little override toolbar that will often pop up. And I also have a line that will be straight over here that I need to put in. Which I have not added that end line in because I needed this end piece here. So right now I'm going to put this just on my center line layer, and I'm going to draw a line straight from here. I'm going to bring it over, and in this case it wants it to be 5.7, and then drop it straight down. So now I have the line, how far out I need it to be, and I will be deleting that out as necessary. So this goes from the 1-inch line to the 1-inch line. Now I also need a line that's going to be tangent to the circle and end at this end point. So again, I'll just type in tan and click on my arc, and it will place it where it needs it to go. I'll trim these two lines up, and you can see now it's correct. And actually what I think I want to do is just mirror that over. So I'm deleting out that bottom circle that I drew in, and I'm going to use my mirror command. I'll select all the points of importance here, hit enter, and then choose my centerpiece. So now we can trim. And you'll see that when I do that, it leaves a little portion of that arc up there. Go ahead and just select it and delete it out. The next part that we're going to be working with on here is right in the middle, there's an arc situation that's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a radius of zero point 0.8 as a circle that I will end up trimming out here shortly. And that center point is going to come from where the zero point 0.7 and where the end of this 2.2 meet up. So I will go to my circle center radius. I'll place it right there at zero point 0.8. And I can mirror that across too. And there's actually going to be a fillet in between these two. You could use tan radius, but I'll go to my fillet command. I'll jump down here and click on radius and make sure that I change that to the 0.4. Remember, that was that odd one that we could not necessarily find on our PDF. Select the two, and now I have my arc right where it needs to be. And then between these two, I also have a fillet, and that's going to be a radius of 0.6. I'll repeat that, make sure it's set at 0.6. Select the other two. Now this is when I can get into my trimming. I select my boundaries and then I select my part. That just made it a little easier for me. You can hit enter right away and you can select all the pieces on the inside. So we're almost there. I have another circle right at this intersecting point. That's a diameter of 0.348. And my drawing is drawn out. And my next job is to dimension it. So keep in mind some things that you need to do. You need to trim your center lines so that they are 0.25 away from the last edge of your arc.